Right now, everybody's in this room, we're going to talk about the prodigal son. And I'll tell you what, when I put that on the email burst, when I decided that was what I was going to speak about and send it out, I recognized that the prodigal son is a parable that stirs up a lot of feelings in people. It stirs up father feelings, it stirs up child feelings, it stirs up feelings about religion, it stirs up feeling probably a lot of people, if they had any Christian kind of church in their history, they've been told the prodigal son. And they have thoughts about what it means. And it's supposed to, the general Christian principle is it represents God the Father, who has room to forgive all of us, quote-unquote, sinners. So even if you're the worst possible sinner, you can come back to God. That's a traditional understanding of the prodigal son. Well, of course, in Unity, we have other understandings, and I titled this talk, The Metaphysics of the Prodigal Son, and metaphysics just means beyond the physical. Metaphysics just means I'm going to take this to a deeper level. You can actually interpret The Wizard of Oz using metaphysics. You can interpret anything. It doesn't need to be a holy scripture. But a lot of Bible tradition that people still enjoy is interpreting the Bible metaphysically. And you interpret it metaphysically with meaning for you. There are some things that are symbolic that a lot of us share, but you can also interpret it any way you want. I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it. It's one of the longest parables that Jesus talked about in the Bible, in the Gospels. This is from Luke, and I may skip a few words, a few sentences. Then Jesus said, there was a man who had 2 sons. The younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the share of the property that will belong to me. So he divided his property between them. That's as if the son said to his father, you're as good as dead to me, just give me your property. So it was actually kind of an insult at that. So he divided his property between them. A few days later, the younger son gathered all he had and traveled to a distant country, and there he squandered his property in dissolute living. You know that, dissolute living. The worst. Not that any of us ever did anything dissolute, but maybe some of our brothers or sisters did. When he had spent everything, a severe famine took place throughout that country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to one of the citizens of that country, who sent him to his fields to feed the pigs. Now remember, this was actually a Jewish parable at the time. Jesus was talking to Jewish people. And feeding the pigs would be the worst debasing thing you could do, right? When you think about the Old Testament and that. So the other thing you want to get about this parable is it's a bit midrashic. It's a bit like a story that's exaggerated to make a point, right? So this is an extreme bad case. He would gladly have filled himself with the pods that the pigs were eating, and no one gave him anything. Then he came to himself. He said, how many of my father's hired hands have bread enough to spare? And here I am dying of hunger. I will get up and go to my father, and I will say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me like one of your hired hands. So he set off and went to his father. But while he was still far off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion. He ran and put his arms around him and kissed him. Then the son said to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. But the father said to his slaves, quickly bring out a robe, the best one, and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet, and get the fatted calf and kill it, and let us eat and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. And they began to celebrate. Now this is when it gets truly interesting. This is the part I want us to pay attention to. All of us have a little bit of elder son in our makeup. Now, his elder son was in the field, and when he came and approached the house, he heard music and dancing. He called one of the slaves and asked what was going on. It's the middle of the day. Come on, I'm out here working. The slave said, "Your brother has come, and your father has killed the fatted calf because he got him back safe and sound." Well, elder son, can you feel it? Elder son became angry and refused to go in. His father came out and began to plead with him. But he answered his father, "Listen, for all those years I have been working like a slave for you, and I have never disobeyed your command. Yet you have never given me even a young goat, not even a measly little goat, that I might celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours came back, who has devoured your property with prostitutes, you killed the fatted calf for him." Then his father said to him, "Son, you are always with me, and all that is mine is yours. But we had to celebrate and rejoice, because this brother of yours was dead and has come to life. He was lost and has been found." So ostensibly, we're looking at the forgiveness of the younger son. But maybe the juicy part of this parable is the elder brother's choice. Is he going to stay out of the party? It doesn't say in the story. So if it doesn't say, that means it's our question to ask. Are we going to stay out of the party when we know something is not fair and we have so much evidence and agreement? Not only do we have evidence, we have agreement. I'm pretty sure we could get a couple of slaves to say, "Yes, your brother, he was wrong, and look what your dad did." Are we going to stay out of the party? Even though we already have it? Here's some beautiful lines here. "Son, you are always with me, and all that is mine is yours." He's already at the party, in a way, and he already has that. But is he going to be filled with resentment and anger and unforgiveness and not enjoy what there is? That's our question. Are we going to choose resentment any day? Any day, let me tell you, and I am the pot calling the kettle avocado green, I can find something to be resentful about if I give myself half a chance. I don't go around ranting and resentful, but I do notice that a thought might pop up like, "Well, that doesn't seem fair," or "I don't like that." I think Roland will be my witness. Just last night, I was feeling a little huffy because it was going to rain next week in Alabama, where we were going to go to a lake. And I had a tone in my voice as I think I said, here's what I did not say. "Oh, honey, I noticed that the weather might be raining in Alabama." I did not say that. I said something more along the lines of, "Do you know what?" And it's a little thing, but I had to laugh after I noticed my resentment. Anytime we can leave the party, right? It's almost like it's almost like it's there beckoning us, It's there, and that is our ego. That is why, let me come full circle, that is why we do things like practice meditation. Because believe it or not, the spiritual practice of sitting in the quiet and focusing for a committed period of time, be it 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes, whatever it is, 20, that is an amazing space you allow yourself to connect to spirit with. And just you get yourself in the habit of just noticing your thoughts and not reacting. You keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. And eventually, it might rain in Alabama and you won't even care. You just like, oh, that's raining. But you still go to the party. You can have a party in the rain. You can have a vacation in the rain. In fact, some of my best memories of summer camp when I was a kid were in the rain. How about that? When I was a camper at Blanchette Island Camp up in the above Seattle, I think I was 14. And in Seattle, when you work at summer camp or you attend summer camp, you cannot count on sun. It had rained and rained and rained in the Northwest. We were in cabins, but we were soggy. And I noticed it rained, but I was still pretty happy because I was a kid and I was at camp. And the counselors said, we're going to do this special thing. We're going to have Christmas in July. And so they divided us up, and we did these special activities because we couldn't go swimming and we couldn't go boating. Instead, we went to the craft hall, and we made each other little Christmas presents and stocking stuffers and things like that. And then we went to the chapel, and we sang Christmas carols, and then we did a few other silly Christmassy things. And then it culminated by having a midnight mass, at midnight, which made us feel so cool and adult, and hot chocolate afterwards. I thought that was the most amazing camp experience I ever had. And I loved it. And I didn't learn till many years later when I was a camp counselor at Hidden Valley Camp in Granite Falls, Washington, which is even rainier than the camp at Blanchette Island, if you can believe it, because it's in one of those rain shadows in the North Cascades. And as a member of the staff, the director of the camp called us together and said, well, we need to do some rainy day planning, rainy day programming, because we can't go swimming and we can't go to the lake and we can't go sailing. And all of a sudden I went, oh, Christmas in July was rainy day programming. I thought it was just a special party they thought up just to make us happy. I had no idea it had anything to do with rain. And I'm pretty sure that year, because we thought up some really awesome rainy day programming ourselves, all about, there was a scary story that they told at that camp about Crazy Alice. And what they decided to do was have Crazy Alice come visit us for dinner. So all the kids, it wasn't Christmas in July, it was Crazy Alice in July. All the kids went to the craft place and they made little welcoming gifts for Crazy Alice. And they went to it was not a church camp, so they didn't go to the chapel, but they went to the lodge and they sang songs. And then we went to another, and then we also had a rotation where there was a game room, so, when you really pay attention. And then Crazy Alice came in, who was this great counselor with blonde hair who had crazy flowers stuck all over her hair, and she came riding into a horse, and I swear, even I was enchanted by Crazy Alice and could not have wished for anything more special than that rainy day programming that was because of rain, but it was such a good party. And the party's not available if we're outside in resentment, if we haven't forgiven. The elder son could not enjoy any fatted calf if he had not forgiven. He had to forgive. And ultimately, the very deep meaning is that there was nothing to forgive. Elder son had been enjoying the party all along. He'd been living with his father. He had everything the father had given him. And it was only the decision to be mad that would get him out of the party. Now, all of us have things to forgive. Many things, terrible things, very, very terrible things, and very sad things. And we have resentments and feeling, especially now, yesterday in our country, many, many people were protesting treatment of immigrants all over our country. And there were also people who felt angry about the protests. There are both sides of that. There are people who are having strong feelings about how people are treated and what's going to happen. And I'll tell you what, there would be two ways to go about that. Yeah? There would be a way to on either side of that equation, to show up and be outside in the rain and not enjoying the party. And there would be a way to show up and feel like you were working with a bunch of people to carry forward your vision of tomorrow. It would be a party, or it would be an anger, an anger and a shouting, right? It could be two ways that would go. This parable is asking each of us, are we going to stay outside in our resentments, or are we going to join in? And I know that I have to answer that myself almost every day. Sometimes the big questions come up, and in a way, the big questions are often easier to answer than the little questions. But it will be your connection to Spirit, your commitment to wanting to be a better, evolved, more connected, truest, best you could be, that your commitment to that's going to carry you through, and your spiritual practice of whatever that is, of some quiet time meditating, some time praying, some time joining together with other people and noticing that you're supporting them, noticing that even your presence is enough. So, that's the question. I know that I myself am going to invite you all for the rest of today, a little bit of fellowship with some baked goods, some coffee, some tea, to join in on the party. Let's take an offering for unity.